During this video, we're going to compose the oak tree, and then we're going to listen to what the tree sounds like and go over some interesting facts about this magnificent tree. So let's head into the woodland, compose some images, and plug in a device from Music of the Plants where we can listen to electronic data produced from this magnificent tree. A poem from Johnny Ray Ryder Jr. called The Oak Tree. A mighty wind blew night and day. It stole the oak tree leaves away, then snapped its boughs and pulled its bark until the oak was tired and stark. But still the oak tree held its ground, while other trees fell all around. The wary wind gave up and spoke. How can you still be standing, oak? The oak tree said, I know that you can break each branch of mine in two, carry every leaf away, shake my limbs and make me sway. But I have roots stretched in the earth, growing stronger since my birth. You'll never touch them, for you see, they are the deepest part of me. Until today, I wasn't sure of just how much I could endure. But now I've found, with thanks to you, I'm stronger than I ever knew. So we have our first composition. I was walking down this forest track and this tree caught my eye. This gnarly, curly oak tree, which is spindling out from the ground like a snake. So I've stopped to take this image and I've looked around to see how I can compose the image, how I can look at the light and look at the foreground and the foreground to compose an image. So let me show you what I'm looking at. You've got this curly oak here, which is spindling out, and then a background, you've got these kind of hair-like oak trees that are also coming up like fingers in the background. So I really like this composition. There's not much I need to do here other than think about my framing. I want to go slightly further back. I want to use a fast shutter speed because there's a slight breeze, and good depth of field, aperture between f8 and f11 to make sure that everything is in focus. So let's compose this image, and then we're going to clip in Music of the Plants, listen to the sound of this image and see what the vibrations of the tree are. And I know this is something new that I'm trying, and you're gonna have to take it with a bit of pinch of salt because I am scientific but I'm also spiritual, and then I'm somewhere in the middle. So I'll leave it to your interpretation as to what you think of this. But there is some science out there that plants have their own bioelectrical system, and all we're doing is just taking that data, putting it through a man-made device, and it's outputting music that we've created. So it's not the sound of this tree, but it is the interpretation of humans of this tree, which I think is just really fascinating. So let's take this image, pop the music on the screen, sit back and enjoy my photograph of this gnarly oak. So let's listen to the sound of our tree. This part goes into the base of the root of the tree, and this goes onto the leaf. Make sure the leaf has water on it because you need that lubricant to try and get the transference of electrical signals. So let's pop this in. We are now plugged into our tree, and let's listen to the sounds. Music of the Plants is one of many devices, and I like this one because you've got lots of different sounds that you can use. So it's just a waiting signal. Right here. So this is information from the tree, which we're putting into a device, so that data transference, and then is converting it into a music that we're telling it to play. It's playing the instruments itself with a pre-recorded sort of platform, I guess. But if you're interested, I've written an article on this, and look up data sonification. It's a very interesting technique and just another layer of connecting with nature. It's gone quiet. How fascinating. This is a good experiment actually, because it just goes to show it's completely the plant or the tree. It's not one way, you know, like set tune. It varies. Through the experiments that I've done, I've noticed a lot of variation. I'm going to record here for a bit, pop the image on the screen, have a listen to the interesting sound of this oak tree. What interesting facts can I share with you? So the oak tree is a very biodiverse tree. There's a lot of interesting insects and bugs living within the tree. It provides quite a lot of nutrients and resource, especially decaying oak wood. There are two types of oak in the UK. You've got the typical English oak, and you've got then the sessile or sessile oak, which is another species. The English oak is the national tree of England, whereas the sessile type of oak is the national tree of Wales and Ireland. And one interesting fact, which I think is fascinating, is how the oak tree can produce ink. And up until the 20th century, the ink produced from oak trees was the largest and main source of ink production. And the way that's created is galls from the oak tree are then ground and mixed with sulfur or sulfate to create ink. And up until recently, we've stopped using that. So I've been really inspired by these facts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to either create my own ink using oak galls and sulfate, we'll see how that goes, or I will purchase some, and I'm going to be using the ink from the oak to write my tree book, which is actually a project I'm working on. So my tree book is going to be a large book containing lots of facts and interesting information about the woodland. And I'm going to be drawing the leaves, helping me identify the trees, helping me learn the facts, and I want to pass this down to my son. So the ink from the oak is going to be used to write it. We'll see how that all goes. But other interesting facts that we have, so there is something called the sea henge, which is a collection of about 50 oak wooden posts in marshland. This is very similar to Stonehenge, and I don't know how far they date back, but there is a woodhenge in Amesbury which sort of shows this, where wood was used for mystical purposes and worship, and a place to be spiritual. So some interesting facts there about the oak tree to be continued, and I'm really looking forward to creating my tree book, which will be really fun to make. So that's this week's facts about the oak tree. You can not eat the leaves, but you can use the acorns from oak, but depends on how you collect them. Make sure you do research and consult a professional before you consume anything from the forest. And that's it. Let's keep looking, see if we can find any more compositions and explore this stunning woodland for more oak trees. I plan to create musical photography, images that you can interact with and feel as though you are immersed in the essence of the subject you are viewing. The benefits of seeing, hearing, and experiencing nature are endless, and I want to connect with others through the power of imagery. I've created a platform called Focus Flow, which gives you access to nature recordings designed to ignite your creative fire. But more on that at the end of the video. Now let's enjoy some more woodland photography. So I have stumbled across another composition, this beautiful, beautiful oak tree. In the background here you have this large canopy of twisted branches, and then you've got the foreground, the roots going into the ground, the luminescent moss. It's really beautiful. So I'm waiting for a good time when it's nice and still, Light's coming through, dappling light that's hitting the foreground. I don't want it to be too harsh. I'm using a polarizer to help counteract that and playing with my shutter speed. So I'm going to put this image on the screen now. And stay tuned. After the image, I'm going to be talking about Focus Flow, which is a platform that I've created to help you guys with mindfulness, connection, and just getting out and about, tackling the creative paralysis we sometimes suffer, and burnout, which I have been a huge victim of, hence the sort of lack of consistency sometimes. But I've actually got some really useful tips and tools for you guys. So stick around after the image where I talk a little bit about that. After suffering my own creative burnout, I've decided to make something special to help others find their focus and flow with creativity. Welcome to Focus Flow. This is a mindful photography platform, a little bit like Headspace or Calm. It has sleep stories, which was my landscape photography sleep story podcast, mindful resources, and tailor-made meditations to unlock your creative mind. Members will have exclusive access to mindful and relaxing content, specifically designed for photographers. There is something for everyone, from fact sheets to learning about the Woodland, to a community book club. Focus Flow looks at all aspects of enhancing your creative growth. If you're interested in joining me, head over to my website and unlock your creative mind today.